Oh, hello. Welcome to Moments in Movie History. I'm your host, Henry Lazlo. Each week since 1952, we've taken a look at the history of film and how it shaped the modern motion picture industry today. Last week, we looked at the sci-fi classic Man Lands on Moon, directed by none other than Stanley Kubrick. In this week's episode, we'll be looking at the fascinating and dreaded lost film. A lost film is a work that no longer exists in any archive, either public or private. Most are destroyed or lost to flame. Films such as London After Midnight, Cleopatra, and The Mountain Eagle, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, all banished from existence forever, with only still images remaining. But perhaps the greatest lost film of all, the long-awaited sequel to Orson Welles' Citizen Kane, titled Citizen Kane 2, Rosebud's Revenge, directed by none other than me, Henry Lazlo. Citizen Kane 2, Rosebud's Revenge details the story of wealthy newspaper magnate Foster Kane's sled, Rosebud. The story starts off with the titular sled being possessed by the soul of the recently deceased Foster Kane. In the sequel, Rosebud sets out on a path of unflinching violence, exacting revenge on all of those who wronged Foster Kane. Leaving a trail of bodies in its wake, the third act begins with our gun-toting sled finding love. This love was revolutionary in that it was the first homosexual relationship shown on film between Rosebud and his companion, a male red wagon. The themes were considered ahead of their time at the moment of its release, which happened at my studio apartment in Burbank in 1958. As the title credits rolled, my father stood up and said, "I don't understand. He's a male wagon and he's gay?" To which I responded, "Nothing I do is ever good enough for you." My brother stood up and said, "I think the sled was a metaphor for Henry being gay." To which I responded, "Shut up, Joe. You don't know anything about me." I then proceeded to grab my sister's breasts and shouted, "Does this look gay to you?" My mother stood up and said, "I'm pulling your allowance, Henry. Stop touching your sister, you disgusting pig." At this point, knowing that the funding for the sequel to my movie, Citizen Kane 2, Rosebud's Revenge, was in jeopardy, I stood my ground and continued massaging my sister's nipples. Unfortunately, Citizen Kane 2, Rosebud's Revenge, is also a lost film. I remember putting it in my closet, but I don't know where it is anymore. Unfortunately, it has been lost forever. Just don't know where it is. The loss of my film was devastating, but it was through the misery of the loss of my creation that I realized something. You see, I created something, and no matter how misunderstood Citizen Kane 2 Rosebud's Revenge was, the fact is, I created it. Me, Henry Lazlo. This is Moments in Movie History. I'm your host, Henry Lazlo. Pecan.